Hello.
How are you? How are you? Good to see you, my friend.
Where are you? In London?
I'm in Singapore, in
In Singapore.
my little mini office where I shall
That.
be for at least one more month.
Oh my God! I know that Singapore has closed down again, huh?
Yes. Well, initially I came back from the UK. So as soon as I realized that I think that Singapore was going to shut its borders, I jumped on the first flight back to the UK. And then I had to do a mandatory 14-day quarantine in my
Yeah.
house, which in the end
Of
is
course.
not too bad because if you're in your house, it's fine. But then the people who
Yeah.
came back the week afterwards, they had to be brought to a special hotel, which they don't even disclose to you where they're going to take you. And you
Oh
have to
my
do
God!
quarantine
But
for
Changi is still open. There are still flights arriving in Changi.
there are very minimal flights.
Very
Honestly,
minimal
I
flights.
think there's, it's essentially shut down, right?
Yeah, for sure,
I think
for sure. Like here in Geneva, it's the same in Geneva. You know.
it's to the benefit of the entire world anyway.
I know. Hopefully, we'll be through that very soon. But let's see.
Yes.
It's getting hard in some regions of the world. In the US, for example, it's very challenging.
It's so terrifying to me as well because I was born and raised in New York and I have so much affection and love for this city, and to see
Yeah,
what's going on there, see the numbers rising so rapidly, yeah, it's really hard to fathom, and I've been trying to like scrounge to get masks for my friends in New York or whatever, just so they have something to wear when they're going around. But of course, that was around the same time when they enacted the lockdown here, so
yeah,
everyone ran
for
out
sure.
and everything they could as well. But
Yeah.
let me ask you a question, because I know you are an athlete, and I know that you run marathons specifically. How, I mean, have you had to moderate your training, or are you able to still run in the way you did before?
Well, the chance we have in Switzerland is that all the stores are closed except for the food and so on and so on. But you can still go outside. It's not like France, Italy, Spain, where it's all locked down and you couldn't get out of your home. Principally. Here, if you want to go out, you can. Of course, you have to be careful not to approach someone by 2 meters. So
Right.
it's funny because when you cross someone in running or by bike, the people are getting around. It's like you have the worst illness in the world. So that is so funny. But otherwise, since I have the countryside close by, I go early in the morning or late in the
Nice.
evening, and that's rather easy. That's okay. We are very privileged in Switzerland. First, the weather is great since 2 weeks.
Yes.
Second, we still can go out and in a very safe way, and there is nobody in the streets anyway. So it's a very calm down in Geneva.
Well, I used to joke that Geneva on a Sunday morning, it was like as if there was no one that lived there. It was the most empty city. Now
Oh, you saw this picture. It, in that our life doesn't shine so much anyway because it's an empty city when it comes to the weekend.
and I find, like I guess the most important thing is to keep your day structured. So that I have to
Yeah,
wake up at a specific time and accomplish things. If you
for sure.
exercise, you keep your mind strong by reading, by creating something, by
Yeah,
writing, or by having
yeah,
interesting conversation. And for you, I'm sure also creating watches, creating new strategies.
yeah,
Um, you feel this sense of self worth, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
you're fine.
for sure.
So
Are you? How are you handling? I know you have a great watch. If I would have seen
two great
what you are
watches.
wearing,
I have the original Bronto,
that's
and I'm
good.
wearing my military jacket for you as well.
I know, I know, I know. You could
And
be
then
in the Panerai. You could be in the Panerai company.
this, yeah, as you see, I'm auditioning for everyone just in case, And then I have this beautiful watch, which is the special edition that was created for Revolution for the 10th
Yeah,
anniversary.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Very
And I
good,
have,
very good.
I have this. This is a PAM 27A.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. With the power reserve. That's good. Very nice.
Tritium dial A series. And then what's cool about this watch, I don't know if you can see in the case
Yeah,
bracket,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
second one ever made. So number 2 out of 500
Wow.
A series, which was cool.
I know
And
you're
then,
a fan. I know you're a fan. I know.
well, because it's interesting because I had a conversation with Philippe Bonnet, who I love, incidentally, in New York. And my
Yeah.
heart goes in, of course, in all the New Yorkers. But I'm going to write a story in the next issue of Revolution in July. Oh, and of course, I'm going to cover the contemporary watches. But I always feel that the performance of the vintage watches always helps to lift the brand a little bit as well.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I feel the best investments in watches, or one of the best investments in watches right now, are the A series Panerais, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
Dial A series Panerais, I think, are such a exciting investment right now, and there's so many great opportunities. So, and then Philip and I were discussing it. We both agreed about this. So we're like,
Oh
okay.
yeah, yeah. And Philippe is a great connoisseur of the history of Panerai, and he knows many of the Panerai tea collectors in the US. So he has a good knowledge of that.
Yes. So, Jean-Marc, thank you so much for joining us. Oh, incidentally, I guess I should formally introduce you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in at Revolution in a series we're called Zooming In. And today we're zooming in with Jean-Marc Pontroué, my dear friend who's also the CEO of Panerai, a brand that is one of my favorite brands. My first watch that I bought myself was a PAM 61 many, many years ago when I was a much younger man. And I have to say that I feel that Jean-Marc is doing an incredible job at the leadership of Panerai. There's so much excitement, fun, coolness, connection with the community. You can really sense the energy. And I know things, I mean, I know we're all in a bad, difficult situation now, but I know that in up to until January, you were one of the most successful, if not the most successful growth from a growth perspective brand in the group. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did to bring the excitement back to Panerai?
Well, the story in Panerai that we have the chance to work for a brand where you already have all these iconic products. You have mentioned some of them. So when you arrive in a brand like I did 2 years ago, you basically have to reuse what my predecessor has done successfully, which is to revamp some of the concepts, to reactualize them, to re-highlight them, plus associating some of the latest innovations we have done, which are these experiences. Which have brought a lot of interest to the brand, despite it was impacting only a couple of dozens of customers and journalists. At the end of the day, it was extremely new in that industry to bring people, associating them to the deep heart of what is the brand. And the Marina military experience or the Guillaume Neri in Tahiti. Unfortunately, we had to cancel or to delay, let's say, the one in the North Pole with Mike Horn that we have rescheduled now in October. But the experiences are going to become one of the key communication factor of the brand because we can associate as much as possible some of the historical lovers of the brand to what we do at our best.
Fantastic. And you know, one of the things that I love that you have focused on is the spirit of material innovation, or innovation in general, related to Panerai. And I know that one of the key focuses for the brand has always been related to materials. You know, Panerai was one of the first to use bronze, ceramic, titanium, and carbon fiber. And you are introducing for the first time a new material, which I believe relates to the watch that's on your wrist. And that's
yes, exactly. Look at that.
Can you tell us a little bit, what exactly is FiberTech?
You know, when I joined the brand, I was fascinated since many years by this claim, which was Panerai Laboratorio di Idee. And very often I was saying, even though you don't speak Italian, you understand what means the concept of Laboratorio di Idee. And today we have it as a direct association to our brand because Panerai is always associated with this Laboratorio di Idee concept. So this year in 2020, we bring it's a highlight of Luminor. So you will hear for the next 12 months a lot about Luminor. And the idea was to enrich the line of product by new materials, one of them being the FibraTech, which is a new composite that we have found a couple of years ago, and that we're going to associate to Luminor, the 44 millimeter, which is our best-selling model. So it's a composite. It's a basalt fibers composite that for the first time will be associated to a watch in the watch industry. That's why we love this claim of prima assoluta, being the first one to enter the business with a new material, and that enrich what the brand has been doing. As you have said, we have the Bronzo, which is a very strong legend in Panerai. We have the Carbo, yes. The Bronzo, we have the Carbotech, we have the BMG, which are three of the key pillars of the brand. But we also intend to animate regularly our assortment with this new generation of material, some of them being very strongly inspired by the world of sea. When we work with our friends of Luna Rossa, we benefit a lot from what they are doing to develop these high resistant, highlighter type of generation of materials.
Amazing. You know, I love the association with Luna Rossa. Also, happened to be in CR in Mexico to see the launch of this incredible watch that's utilizing
yes.
sails. And I love the fact that you're using the actual sails that are coming off of the race boat as well.
Yeah,
That's very cool. Just to back up a little bit, so fiber tech is, you're saying it comes from bauxite, which if I'm not mistaken is a type of stone. What is it? It was, the original application was in aerospace, is that correct?
Yes. So it's when you have new materials, very often they are being used already in some of the key industries, which are either supercars, which are either superboat, which are either the medical industry, which is a big provider also of new materials, uh, or the aerospace. So you have these four industries which are strong inspiration platforms for us at Panerai. And of course, we try to privilege the one out of the sea because of this partnership we have with Luminor. But not only. So we are very connected with many small companies all around the world which are developing for bigger industries this type of new materials. And we always have in mind what can be the benefit for the customers. So lightness is, of course, one of them. Performance in terms of endurance is one of them. On having the chance to be the first one to arrive in a new field is something we like to develop to continue to enrich the concept of Panerai Laboratorio di.
I love the fact that in some ways, though, it's a bit of a two-tone watch. And two-tone
Yes.
usually, in most people's minds, they think of steel and gold. But in this case, you're using fiber tech and carbotech. So carbotech
Yeah.
is being the bezel and some elements of the crown protector as well.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of Panerai, which hasn't been very active the last couple of years in this. So I don't know if you see it very well here, but this type of B color, B material on our iconic model, on the association of the Carbotech bezel, on the rest of the watch being in Fibratech, and we will develop that approach more and more in the future because it continue to enrich the Luminor. Having a different tonality in its appearance. And also you have two high-tech materials on the same watch. So you can create an even stronger story by having this type of B material.
Amazing. I think you even have a third material because I think the buckle's in titanium, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So you know everything about this watch, huh? You have all the details. Plus, you have the sport tech on the strap because we develop more and more straps which are not necessarily the ones we were using before, like calf, like alligator, or like rubber. And we have sport tech, which is a new generation of strap that we will associate more and more to our watches as a second strap. You know that most of our watches do have two straps in the packaging.
And I love that beautiful fume colored dial as well. Very, very stunning. Okay,
Yes.
well, let's from that to, so Panerai actually got to start with luminous materials, if I'm not mistaken. And subsequently the name of the luminous material, Luminor, then became a family of watches, and that's the anniversary that we're celebrating this year. Now, there's a really cool watch that you created, and when I first saw a picture of this watch, I started smiling. It's Panerai collectors, we like to call things by PAM. So it's the PAM 1117 boutique edition. And it's using luminous material, a new generation of Super Luminova, which is extremely bright and lasts longer as well. But also is using it just not just on the dial in the hands, but even on the case, and even on the strap, and even on the crown guard. Can you tell me a little bit about this?
Well, when we started to think about this 70th anniversary of Luminor, it was about 18 months ago. On the idea, we were doing brainstorming. On to do brainstorming, you have the engineers in Neuchâtel, you have our marketing and creative team in Milan. We have sometimes some suppliers or developers of new ideas, and then you are brainstorming to see how we can bring innovations. You know, in Panerai, we don't intend to develop new families. We have the chance to get the Luminor, the Submersible, the Radiomir, the Douai on the concept of the brand for the next years. It's to capitalize on these four families. So when we had to celebrate the luminescence, the idea was to say how we can have it even more bright on one side, but even more spread in the watch. And in addition to the indexes, to the hands, we wanted to highlight this typical case, which is a Luminor case that is so identified to Panerai. And we have highlighted some of the edges of the case, so that when you're in the night, you see very clearly the greenish style of the indexes, the hands, the case, as well as the stitching of the strap, because as you know, the stitching is also luminescence. And so in the night, you hardly cannot not see this piece. So you see exactly what this watch is about, is how you can, in a dark environment, to highlight all the luminescence of key elements. And you see the safety crown protection, which is one of the highlight of Luminor. It's a patented device which has been developed to, help the divers in the Italian Navy to not to change the time while they were diving. And then you see the new generation of strap, and you see this greenish stitching, and you see what makes the beauty of this luminescence on this watch.
It's really cool also because I would imagine that, anytime, like I love the idea of a watch, which is both a tool, and certainly Panerai had it at its beginning as a tool watch, but also as a watch as an emotionally expressive device as well. And I think that when you kind of are hanging out, whether you're in a club or at a restaurant, and or even at the bar, and someone sees this on your wrist, there's just so
well,
cool.
And what I can tell you, Wei, that the luminescence is really something which is in the, of course, brand patrimony, and we'll continue to invest in that. So be prepared the years to come to see even more innovations associated to the luminescence of Panerai. Plus, you know that this case is in DMLS. Which is this direct metal lasering concept, which we had so far only on our tourbillon in Luminor, on that we have decided to extend for the 70th anniversary on this timepiece.
And for those of you watching, what Mr. Pontroué or Jean-Marc is referring to is that this is created using a very innovative type of 3D printing where titanium at a powder level sintered and built up on level, which is super cool, and also makes an extremely light case. If I'm not mistaken, 100 grams of the watch including the strap, correct?
Exactly. You know, Panerai has rather bold watches in large size. So all our mission is also to develop some concept which helps the customer to have a lighter timepiece. And the DMS, which was developed 5 years ago, was able to answer to this type of constraints.
The Fibra tech has a very interesting kind of texture to it. It's similar in some ways to carbon fiber, but it's got kind of a gray color.
Yes, when you see the grayish of the case, and you have the darker signature of the Carbotech on the lever of the safety lock system, plus the bezel that you clearly see on the watch. And we have this blue sunny side effect on the dial. And Panerai has developed more offensively the blue the last couple of months. And thanks to the success of this customer feedback, we have developed additional models in 2020, like you see on this Luminor Marina.
Fabulous. And am I correct, Jean-Marc, that with Fibratech and also with Carbotech, because of the layering process, that each watch in some ways is unique because the way the layers, the decoration of the case, like you'll never find one that looks exactly the same, correct?
Exactly. The Carbotech, and this is one of the specifications of Panerai, is cut in a way that you can have as many variations as you have the timepiece. You never have two timepieces which have the same finishing because it's cut directly in the material. And that is valid for the Carbotech, that's valid also for the Fibratech.
And then the last watch maybe we can talk about is the PAM 1661. It's the Carbotech with the blue indexes. And you know, I just like this watch because it's just cool. It's just a great looking watch. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, that has been inspired from the Lab ID that has been brought on the market now 3 years ago, or presented for the first time 3 years ago. And the fact that we are very perceived as a watch brand, which is associated with the green, we wanted to have something which was also more in the dark blue, and reusing the design development that we had for this Lab ID. And so it's something which is very recognizable and very much associated again on the Luminor. We will spend, like we have been spending most of our time in 2019 on submersible, we'll spend most of our time in the next 12 months on the Luminor.
Yeah, it's just great looking. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Exactly.
And for those of you who just need a little bit of a refresh, the Lab ID was an incredible initiative created by Panerai to create a watch that used absolutely no lubrication. Is that correct, Jean-Marc?
Exactly, on the movement, which was associated to this new generation of dark blue indexes, while Panerai so far was mainly on the white and dark green indexes. And that has
Now,
been only 50 pieces. You remember it was only 50
yeah,
pieces with 50 years of guarantee. So that was one of the highlight of the of Panerai. I'm back, by the way, on the the one we have just mentioned, which has all the luminescence. The first project, or the second project you have shown on the. Be aware that the watch is guaranteed 70 years.
I
And
was
that
just
is
about.
one of the highlight. Okay, you wanted to cover that because it's one of the highlight of this year to be the first brand to guarantee your watch up to 2090.
Amazing.
And today we have movements in our own manufacture that we have in Neuchâtel, which allow us to guarantee an even higher number of years. And we have 10 models in the assortment 2020, which will have this guarantee extension, which is normally today 8 years, which will be guaranteed 70 years.
Amazing. You know, I love that, and I love the fact that you're giving someone a lifetime of service and beyond, probably for 2 generations worth of service. That's incredible. Maybe if I could just ask you a little bit, just general questions. You were the first one to innovate experiences, right? And I love the experience that you did with the Italian Navy, because you really brought Panerai back to its roots, but in a fresh and kind of contemporary way as well. And I know that you said that ultimately it's just for a few dozen of clients and journalists, but I think the communication effect of this was much larger because, again, today, I think that people are genuinely looking for experiences that are distinct, right? It's something that they couldn't normally have. I think the normal civilian would never have access to being able to train with the Italian Navy Special Forces, for example. So the fact that you're doing this, like, what gave you that idea? And how will you continue to proliferate this for the future?
Well, the beauty of my job has been to meet people like you in the press, on high-end customers, on dealers, and when you spend time with them, they express you very often what they would love one day to see on how they react. Having worked in my previous jobs with high-end cars, you remember Lamborghini, you see customers who have already acquired cars and who have the chance to get great holidays. So what can you bring as additional value, additional excitement for these type of customers? On thinking about Panerai, which has a chance to get an incredible history, which has a chance to get this link to adventures, sports, diving. The idea came to us very quickly to develop these type of limited editions, which is also something that Panerai is very close in terms of history, and associated to an experience, but an experience that, due to the fact we have to find crazy ideas, cost a fortune to develop. And the idea was to develop a package which is a product very limited, because it's from 5, like we have this year with Mike Horn, up to 33 like we had for the Marina military, and associate a program which you cannot buy in any magazines or in any programs of offering this type of experiences, because it was forbidden to enter, as a simple reason, to enter any of the military operations of the Navy in Italy. So it worked very well. It has been a very interesting first experience. First, because everybody was back, so that safe and healthy, so that was good. That was my first target. Second, because you have got a lot of excitement and people speaking about it. And also the military, we have been preparing this experience. We're very interested to see how we can also highlight their premises, highlight their life and work, and also to acquire also talents for the future in their operations. So the ecosystem that we have studied and developed on practice was one we will continue to develop in the future.
And last 2 questions. The first one is the 3 watches that we looked at today are all wonderfully modern, and they really kind of represent the future of Panerai from a material perspective, from a design perspective, from a warranty perspective, even from a color perspective, right? At the same time, Panerai has this wonderful sort of historical dimension to it as well. And you oftentimes create watches that are very much inspired by watches all the way from the 40s to even sort of the recent history in the 90s. Will you continue to still have these 2 different elements, the kind of vintage dimension and the sort of modern futuristic dimension?
Well, so the futuristic, you've seen it and we have many other concepts in the pipeline. The historical background of the brand, which is so important, is associated to Radiomir. So we are preparing a couple of concepts which are refreshing what has been the depth of the historical background of the brand, and wait a couple of more months or years, and you'll see a lot of new concepts which are going to highlight this incredible past that the brand is very proud to have got.
Awesome. And last question for you, Jean-Marc. This will be, I think this is probably from a psychological and cultural perspective for us. This, what we're undergoing now is one of the biggest changes for us. We're in some ways processing a lot of information, communicating, socializing, even exercising through video screens,
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel as if that this will in some ways alter any dimension of the watch buyer's experience for the future?
Well, we have developed this program with Mike Horn, Guillaume Néry, where they are entertaining all the people who are at home by doing some yoga courses. Mike will unveil his program tonight on our Panerai.com, which is entertaining all our customers with how to survive when you're alone, which is very often the case of many people, or you are blocked somewhere. So giving us some recipe. Well, I think that we will all be very excited when it will be finished on all the informations we read. Hopefully will bring us back to normal in the coming weeks, months, perhaps in a different way, because perhaps we'll have to wear masks, perhaps we'll have to live differently than what we're used to have. But as long as you have passion, as long as you have love, as long as you have the celebration envy, we'll have people buying luxury products, and of course watches. So I strongly believe that you'll have this furious envy when it's over to compensate all what you haven't been able to do the last 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and we will recover a way to be back to a normal life. Perhaps we'll have some changes. We'll travel perhaps not with so much energy consumption, and we'll pay attention, perhaps work much more with what we are used to do these days by using much more the applications, and we perhaps have to limit the number of trips we do in the world. Panerai is very strongly engaged in an ecological program, which is how to invest creative ideas in protecting the oceans for the future. So you'll see a lot of innovations in that also. Our intention is still to bring the first watch to be 100% recycled in the next 24 months. And so I'm sure the world will change. Everything is new for all of us. And we don't have any benchmark. We are discovering new patterns every day. But I'm sure we'll get out of that with many new ideas, because when you are contained somewhere, it's like when you have cost constraints. You are very creative because you don't have time. You're in a survival mood, and I think it will bring a lot of new ideas in many industries in the coming months.
Amazing. Jean-Marc, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure zooming in with you. And
thank you, Thank you.
And stay safe, and thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you. Have a great day and safe time.